Welcome to Conversations with Toy, a blogcast tackling life one episode at a time. This is the time to air out life's craziest moments. This space is all about speaking about life's hang-ups and ways in which we can leave better than when we started. Topics are all about ways we can find space to be better in life, love, mental space, and health.
Happy Friday! I hope you have had the absolute most amazing week. If this is your first time coming to Conversations with Toy, welcome. My name is Toy. I am your podcaster, but I'm also a content creator, freelance writer, blogger. What else? I have a lot of skills. I run social media. I got a lot of things going on. However, I'm also a wife as well as a mom of 3 amazing children. And this podcast always is going to talk about mental health and wellness. If you are thinking, my gosh, I really do need to have a conversation about that, or some things that you hear that may spring up something in your soul, I pray that it does it in a positive way. There are going to be times on this podcast where there are going to be some serious conversations that require, me and you to lean in while we're listening. But then there's those conversations where we laugh and we just have a good time. And again, we're always going to also include what's happening in this internet streets. So without any further ado, welcome to the podcast. I believe this is episode number 4 of season number 12, which means you have 11 more seasons that you can go back and listen to. I cover topics from marriage, single, parenting, all the things, and I have sometimes guests that come in and weigh on their opinions and some of their expertise about how they have dealt with their own self-care, and or they are visionaries in their field. However, I am super glad to be with you this week. I am so glad for just getting through another week here in Philadelphia, which is where I currently reside and, do all the things. We have had what was called, I guess, a little mini ice something that we had. So this week, I've had my children home several times this week. I honestly believe this week, since we've gone back to school, meaning since Christmas break has been over and the children have gone back to school, everybody in my home has gotten sick. Now, I ended up getting sick right after, or I think the day of Thanksgiving. I put all the food together, got everything together, ate with my family, then I was sick for about a few days. Then my oldest was sick. Then after that, we've had these last few weeks where my husband and the last 2 of my children have been sick. And I honestly believe that it's kind of the way that it works, because I believe the year before I got sick around New Year's and just after the holidays and things. I say all that to say this: continue to be vigilant about your health. Continue to wash all of your hands. Please, please, please continue to use your Lysol, use your hand sanitizer when you can't get to soap and water. If you have the opportunity to get to soap and water is always going to be best. So do all the things that you need to do. This week has been quite an interesting week. We still have all these executive orders going around. The newest of the executive orders is that trans women are no longer allowed to play in sports, where they're not allowed to play in women's sports because they're now not identified as women. So Trump made it very clear in the midst of his presidency that he was going to have female and he was going to have male. So this might be a victory for a lot of people who say, I don't want a trans woman to be in sports with regular women. This might be a victory for you. For so many other people, this is their entire identity of whom they choose to identify with, who is being stripped. And here's the next thing that's going to happen. The U.S. Air Forces have allowed women, trans women, all these different, variations. And I say that very much not being, smart, rude, ignorant, or anything, just making sure we cover all of the bases that have allowed women, men, trans, all these different beautiful conglomerates of people to receive benefits. And I know without any shadow of a doubt, what's going to come to happen is all marriages that are under the LGBTQ plus organization will no longer be honored. And in the midst of it no longer being honored, that means benefits from jobs and things of that sort will not be honored as well. So this is a very interesting time for a lot of people. And again, these executive orders have been pulling and tugging on our pocketbooks, our minds, the ups and downs of something's going to be taken, things that I rely on is going to be snatched. this is some trying times. I wrote a blog this week, which I'm going to include in the show notes, is how to survive, how to ignite your self-care when you're living in tumultuous times. I have gone to the nail salon like last week, and at no time in me going to the nail salon did I all of a sudden feel so good that all the cares of the world just went out the door, right? Self-care, or like doing nails or going to the spa or going to these beautiful things that are considered beautiful but extra, because you got to have the funds, you got to have the funds to do all these things. None of these things are going to take care of making you feel so good that you forget life is lifing. The premise of self-care, when you start to add in things like getting your nails done, going to the salon, doing all these other things, is that if you get into the habit of taking care of you, these things are not going to stop life from lifing. But what they do is they give you a place that you say, you know what, just for a few minutes, I just want to sit and have somebody else pamper me. I want to be able just to sit and enjoy this, because listen, life is already lifing. And because life is lifing, oftentimes we are stressed to the bone, like to the bone marrow. We are stressed um beyond recognition. Sometimes we're so stressed we don't even recognize that we're stressed. And if you get into a situation like I have a high functioning depressive mode that I can run in, right? I'm on point. I'll get this done, get that done, and attack all these things. But then you look and you're like, you know what? I'm barely hanging on. Like last week's episode, we were talking about barely hanging on with our edges. Like, we have been on this up and down balance where we're 1 week we're good, one day we're good, one moment we're good, and the next we're not. And this is just the way that life works. But if you get into a high functioning situation, you will begin to tell yourself you're fine. You'll begin to tell yourself nothing's wrong. You'll begin to tell yourself that, you have everything licked. You don't need no help. And the reality is that you may need some help. I really don't know any other way to sugarcoat this, but you're in need of help. Yes, you are. You're in need of having someone pour into you. You're in need of making sure that you are good. And I can't stress enough how often we are in these high stress situations. We have gotten comfortable with being uncomfortable, that even in our uncomfortableness, we chalk it up to that's just the way things work. And that's just normal. When reality of it is that we are all going to have some levels of stress. We are going to deal with these things. They're going to be up and down. But to live in it to the point where you're just like, this is just the way, it really may not necessarily be the way. So on this week's episode on the blog, which again, I said I was a blogger and a content creator. And if I didn't say that, yes, I'm a blogger and a content creator. I would say this week's blog, I talked about how to help yourself when you're in a high stress, tumultuous situation. Like life is life. And I had a few friends that lost family members. All these things are happening. It's like, how do you take care of yourself? And let's take grief, for instance. I have a few friends that lost a loved one this week, right? And in the midst of their loss, they probably have everything on their heart happening at the same time. You're thinking about the relationship that you've had with the loved one that's passed. You think about the things that you couldn't do while this person was here. You may have some guilt about some things that happened and things you could have done better. And then you have the forming of the funeral plans, and you're trying to get all these things done. You got people calling your phone, people texting you every 2.3 seconds, somebody wanting your opinion about something, and you haven't even had a moment to breathe. But when you learn to practice self-care, although you may feel like you have these stuck moments, it's like, okay, you know what? For 15 minutes, I know that these people are not going to stop calling me. I know that they're going to want my opinions for this. But how about for 15 minutes, I just shut the door in my room and say to everybody, can you just not come in? Don't come in. Don't call me. Don't ask me nothing. Don't rub on my back. Don't woo me. I'm here for you, man. I'm going to send up prayers. How about for 15 minutes, you just don't say nothing to me? How about you give me 15 minutes? And if I just want to go in there and lay down for a couple seconds, let me do it. If I just want to sit in the quietness of just a quiet space, let me do it. These are the things that you have to put into place. This is a form of self-care. Another form of self-care when you're in a tumultuous situation is, hey, I can't do that right now. I've had times where people were like, hey, can you pick me up? Can you take me here? Can you do this? Hey, can you come to this last minute event? No. No can be a form of self-care, because no, I can't add another thing to my plate when I'm already feeling like I'm out here drowning with no lifeboard, no life support, no swim floating, no nothing. And now you're saying, here, let me just add one more thing. Oh, it's so good. It's, I know you can do it. I know you can do it. And maybe because you have so used to seeing my capacity, at 1,000 that you don't think that 1,001 could be problematic. But just even adding even the smallest of tasks when you're already floundering, baby, that is not what you need. Self-care is in that moment of saying, you know what, I can't, I don't have the capacity. I don't have the capacity. This is why when you're going through something and you go to talk to your friend about something, I wrote a blog about this too, checking in with the capacity of your friends. Because although you think, oh, I'm just asking about A, B, and C, they may be already floundering themselves. What if their husband just said to them this morning, hey, you know what? I don't think this is going to work. Our marriage is over and I'm tired of you. I've met someone else and I'm leaving. And then here you come talking about, girl, so-and-so happened, child. I don't know what I'm going to do. What do you think I should do? And that person hasn't said one word because they're still processing themselves, right? They're still processing it. And so now you've added and you're asking them questions about how they can be there for you. And then you get mad when they're not capable because they haven't met capacity. They're at capacity, right? And we as human beings can get at capacity because I don't know if you know, but human beings are not made to just be dumpsters. We're not made to be dumpsters. And so when a friend, even inadvertently, doesn't even realize that they're doing it, when they're piling on your plate, trying to give something else, and you feel like you need to be a problem solver, sometimes saying, hey, you know what? I love you, but right now I'm just out of capacity. I'm going to have to either hit you up later. I'll have to find another time. I really just cannot tap into this right now. I got some things going on. And I need you that are listening to be a friend that if your friend says that to you, ask the question, hey, I'm so sorry. What can I do to help you in this moment? Did you want to talk about it? Do you want me to help? Do you want me just to listen and not respond? Whatever you need, let me know. And if that person says, you know what, I'm not really interested in that right now. Let me process that. Give them the space without asking them 20 more times. You sure you okay? You sure you okay? You sure you okay? Because sometimes even that can be bothersome, right? I need us to understand that in the times that we're in right now, we could wake up tomorrow and something that is absolutely detrimental to life and death could come about, and trying to dumpster on your friend or your loved one ain't gonna work. If I just lost my job, which so many people have, this administration is saying we cutting this, we cutting that, we taking this person out. Y'all need to go ahead and just, give up your job. If you are listening, the judge just put a temporary stop on all them little deals that the administration is trying to give you to leave your job. There's never been in a time of anybody where you can get a severance pay and they tell you, well, we just want you to leave, and you don't have nothing in writing and you just take that and take the word. Like, I wouldn't sign nothing but Donald Duck before I allow somebody to buffalo me into some deal that may not even be honored. And then here I am, no job with no severance and nothing to back up. Baby, don't do it. Baby, don't do it. But in all these things that are happening, sometimes we just don't have enough to carry another bucket. Like, you ever carry a bucket? And the more you put into the bucket, it could be a bucket of toys. You ever have cleanup time? I used to do this with my kids. You have a bucket. You would say, hey, everybody has to put their toys in this bucket. And the more you put in, it, the child or an adult tries to lift it up and it gets heavier and heavier and heavier. Sometimes everybody can't do the fire dumpster and you just dump everything. Like, I am not a dumpster. I'm sorry. You cannot dump everything on me. Ask your family and your friends about their capacity and be honest about your own personal capacity. I know that we will look like the biggest flake if we tell our bestest of friends, I don't have the capacity. But here's why you have to honor yourselves above honoring all these other people, because we do a great job. I mean, we be out here killing it in the game. We be the best mamas. We be the best friends. We be the best workers. We be the best of all the things. But when it comes to us, we give ourselves second-class citizenship every single time. Every single time. We're there for somebody else. We carry their load. We'll pick them up. We drop them off, give them the money. We do all the things. But we don't put that same tenacity into making sure that we're okay. Oh, we are on point when it comes to other people. Like, even as a content creator, if somebody invites me to a event, oh, I'm on point. I'm coming in. What's the theme? Okay, let me find the theme. Like, for instance, I've been to all these Valentine's Day events. And people have been like, oh my God, you're this cute. I have like one of those little heart ear things for every color, for every possible event for Valentine's, right? Because I have a Valentine's Day tree. I just pull it off. When I come back home, I take it and put it back on the tree. But we'll be on theme and on point for that. I done came in some red. I done came in with some, I had this beautiful purple outfit. Oh my gosh. I hope I got a picture of that because that outfit was banging. But then you got pink, you got this, you got that. and we're on point. I done came in, I'm on theme, I'm dressed to the nines, I'm picture perfect ready. I done took the most amazing pictures, made sure the lighting is on is good. If I need to darken up something to make it look powerful, I done did all the things. But then when it comes into making sure that I actually attended my therapy for the week, it's like, well, I don't really know, I can't afford it. But then we go and spend money at like a coffee shop and then tell ourselves we can't afford therapy for the month. Right? We give and give and give and give and give and give. And so we have nothing left to give to everybody else. And then we give it to ourselves. It's like second class citizenship all over again. And for why? Because we are conditioned that it is better to give than to receive. And it is better to give than to receive, but never give past your capacity. That's like saying, I have a friend and she has rent due, but my rent is due. I don't have enough rent to pay both, but I'm going to give to my friend and just, wing it on my side. If you don't have another source of income or something that you can do real quick that can bring in that money to cover yourself, you got to say to your friend, listen, let me see if I can find another resource for you. And then you pay your rent, because there's no sense of you paying their rent, your rent on the chopping block. Now you can't even go live with your friend. Right? We gotta be honest about where we are. And sometimes I feel like in saying that, sometimes we say we gotta be honest. Do y'all really understand what honesty means when you're talking about mental health and wellness? Honesty means I am crying not because something's wrong. Sometimes I don't even know what is wrong. I was talking to my teenager this week. My girl teenager, my daughter, because I have two teenagers now. Pray my strength. Pray my strength in the Lord. I have two teenagers. So I was talking to my daughter teenager and my teenage daughter. And I was asking her what's wrong. Now, there was some things that had happened and we were trying to work through it at the time. And every time I kept asking her what was wrong, you know what they say, like you say, like we all say, nothing. When you keep saying nothing, you're not even honoring your own feelings. So in order to get my teenagers past that nothing stage, I'll say, well, you look like something is going on, and I just want to be here for whenever you're ready. But remember, even if that something is something that has to do with me, I want you to understand that you have the capacity, the floor, to say what needs to be said in a respectful manner, and I'm willing to hear you out. Now, that 90% of the time will get them to open up. Because it could be me. It could be, Mom, I didn't like what you said, which I've had to swallow. Do you know how hard of a pill it is to swallow? I can understand why our parents, when I say our, I mean my parents and y'all parents who are around my parents' age. I'm 43, I'll be 44 next month. So if you have parents that are above that, you can see why they were not capable of doing that. If I would have said to my mother, I didn't like what you said, my face might have been on the other side of the table. Because parents back in that time wasn't worrying about caring about your feelings, listening, and nothing else. And it's sad. It's sad. I don't care what. I know I'm going to get in trouble. I know my own mama going to be like, did you just sit on that podcast? And did. Respectfully, but did. The parents that I had, the parents that you may have had, didn't have the bandwidth, because a lot of times they were more on survival. I have more resources underneath me as a single person, even if I wasn't married. I am married, but if I was a single person, I would have more resources underneath my belt than my parents did. And so their survival and their surviving is not the same thing as what I'm doing. Like, there are times when I'm in survival mode, but most of the time for me, and this is a blessing to be able to say, I'm not in a survival mode every single day. I'm more thriving than I am surviving. And therefore, I want to give 5 seconds of grace to say that's why our parents couldn't handle that. But with my teenage daughter, my teenage daughter, I give all of my kids that space to say what they need to say respectfully, so that they can be comfortable speaking out. Because here's what's going to happen. If I make it uncomfortable for them to speak to me, what's going to happen when they get married or get in a relationship? Now they're so used to coddling those feelings that they can't verbally say to their person, hey, I don't like the tone that you used. Respectfully, I don't like the tone that you used. And be able to meet somebody else who has just enough, the same amount, or if not more, emotional intelligence, that every time your child says to you, I don't like what you're saying, you ain't got to do all that. Because if you have just 5 seconds of emotional intelligence, you can take a deep breath before you answer and say to them, I'm sorry that what I said made you feel that way. Let me try to explain as to why I said it so that maybe I can find a better way to frame what I'm saying. Because listen, a lot of times I ain't going to be taking back what I said, not necessarily take it back. I may take it back on how you misinterpreted or you interpreted or how it made you feel. I may be willing to take it back how I said it. But sometimes it's not about all of that. Sometimes it has to come down to making sure that I say what needs to be said when it needs to be said. Because I still have to be a parent, right? I still have to be a parent. However, I can also be a parent that is wrong. I need you to lean in, parents. We don't got it right. There is no manual out here helping us. And if we use the manual that our parents, that we perceived our parents had used, we wouldn't want to use that manual neither. We wouldn't want that manual for them. We didn't want it for us when we were kids. None of that. None of that at all. All of us in our own way is going through whatever it is that is on our plate. And even for me, like I think about the times, and I've said this a million and one times, and if you've never heard this before, I've talked very openly about different times that I've dealt with postpartum depression. That's actually how my blog started out. I started talking about my postpartum depression because it was real. I was drowning. I was going through it. Didn't have any resource because I didn't understand it. Didn't even know what it was. I didn't understand it until somebody brought it to my attention. And then that opened up the book for my personal healing, which opened the door for me to do therapy for other items and things I had on my plate as well. But I remember the times when I would sit and I was in the house changing 2011 diapers. I had a toddler and a newborn, toddler and a newborn, right? And every day I'm trying to keep everybody healthy and safe. And let me just say, and alive, because when my oldest was born, child, she had so many things going on that just keeping her alive from day to day, I felt that was victorious. When I got to her first birthday party, I honestly just wanted to say, thank you, Jesus, for giving me the strength to keep this baby alive. That child was in the hospital every 2.3 seconds. I was going through. But in the midst of that, I remember the days when I didn't have friends, I didn't have a lot of support system, or my friends were far away, so I couldn't necessarily get to them. And then I was going home, trying to go home like every week because I was trying to avoid adjusting to where I was at when I had moved. I was going through a lot. And I remember the days when I said, Lord God, please open up the door for me to be able to move past this and see life beyond them. And now I'm a walking miracle of seeing that happen because I got on the other side. My kids got older. Sometimes mothers, if you're listening, and I know everybody don't want to be a mom, and I support that 20,000% because these children are expenses. Okay. All 3 of my kids are in private school. I got one daughter about to graduate in 2 years. Just know my pockets. Just know I ain't got it. Just know I ain't got it from the gate. Just know. Don't ask me, do I got it? Because the answer is I ain't got it. These kids are expensive. They're in everything. Everything costs $1. If I set my baby toe out the house, it's costing munties, okay? So I say this with all due respect, I ain't got it. However, what I also wanted to say was my kids got older. Like eventually they get out of that baby stage and eventually they get out of that toddler stage and they start talking and they start talking too much and you be like, hold on, wait a minute. Then they start that you want them to walk. Oh, I can't wait for them to walk. Then they be walking and getting out of your way and they be doing too much because they be getting out the way for the next one. That's how my third one got here. Okay. And then when you got to that point, then I got to the point where I was no longer having children. I said, praise the Lord, my body is now my own. But then I started going through health problems like, okay, Jesus, my body is done. I had my tubes tied. I'm good. I'm done giving to society. And then I started going through health problems. That's which led me to having a hysterectomy. Then I had to go through the healing of all of that. Then my weight started to go up and down. Then I finally lost all this weight. And I was like, praise be Jesus. I'm getting my body together. And then you have to go through like, wait a minute, but your mental health is still there. You still got to take care of yourself. You still got to take care of your family. And then you started to work and then you got to learn how to run this business. And listen, life be lifing. And in these times of all these things going up and down, the real root of issues is that mental health. Because when that mind ain't right, you can't handle none of these things. All these things that were happening up and down, I was like, Lord, is this the life you had actually envisioned for me? Or what part did I play in just adding some things that wasn't for me in here? Because at some point, that's what it's got to be. Because what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? That's what I had to keep asking myself. So again, I want to make sure that we understand the gravity of all the things that are happening around us. And whether it touches you in a way or not, y'all got to reach in y'all bag and pull out just a little bit of empathy. Some of y'all so listen, so tunnel vision on you, and y'all doing so much you, but you ain't really taking care of you. You know how I know? Because the much as people go on these internet streets and they talking about this, and that, and I'm like, you had all that time, and I'm sitting here trying to get my water. It's 6 days into February. I still ain't went to the gym once because everything is happening with my schedule is all off. And I'm like, you had time to dig into your bag and be raggedy. You really found some time to do all that, but you can't find the time to do nothing else. That's what I be thinking. Like, y'all had time to get on here and argue with a person on the internet, but you ain't had time to drink enough water. You ain't had enough time. You ain't meal prepped nothing. Your baseboard just dirty. You ain't had nothing. You ain't wiped the wall down. You ain't cleaned off a banister. You ain't did anything. You didn't reorganize your pantry. Like, there's so much going on, and you're spending precious time arguing and causing all kind of approval and foolishness in the country and the world. You ain't have nothing else to do. Because if you don't, I almost want to invite you over to help me do some things, because I got 1,001 things around here to be done. That's why I ain't got time to be arguing with folks on the internet. And this is also the reason why I really don't have time to be arguing with people in person. Like, I am an argue person. Like, I will argue you down. Like, I am a professional like, I am there. We are going to debate. I'm going to handle this. I'm going to go until I almost want to make you cry. I'm not going to let up. I'm like a pit bull. When I lock on, I'm not letting you go until my point is made. However, I've gotten older. God is good. Won't he do it? I have gotten older, and I am not giving you more about good 15 minutes. I was having a debate or having a conversation with somebody else. I was like, are you done? Like, are you done? Because I'm not going back and forth when facts are facts. I'm not arguing facts. We can argue opinions. We can argue how you felt about said facts. But facts are facts. And once I've given it to you and I've laid it down and it's in black and white, but you just don't want to receive, I ain't about to make you. It ain't my job. I ain't about to buffalo nobody. I ain't about to knock nobody down to receive it, to hear it, to see it. I have gotten to the point where finally, I know my family members is like, praise the Lord. I have finally gotten to the point, this has been years in the making, where I'm just like, I don't have it in me to keep arguing with you. If that's how you want to believe, who am I? I can't change nobody's belief system. I could change your hairdo. We could change your nail color. We might even be able to get you a BBL, but we are not about to be able to change your mindset. And because I can't do it, I ain't about to sit up here and argue about it. I just can't. I can't give that energy. I know some people want to. They want to see me arguing. They want to see me upset and flustered and floundering and carrying on. I ain't got that type of energy for you. I promise you I don't. So I want us to take the time this week. This has been one of those crazy weeks where, again, I want us to take the time to understand what we're going through, what's happening around us, to have some empathy for the people that are having things happen around them. Because sometimes y'all just know what y'all just be doing the most, right? I just need us to do better. I really do. Now, last thing I want to talk about before we end this week's episode is these planes. These planes have been doing the most. I live here in Philadelphia, and if you don't know, there was a plane that crashed, a medical plane that crashed, and I wasn't even anywhere near it, but because, a lot of my family don't know exactly where I am, they're just like calling, they're like, what's going on? I was driving, so I was like, what? So then I decided, let me just get ahead of this. Let me call my own parents, let them know I am okay. Because again, they do know where I'm at. But when things and tragedies are happening, you may not put one or two together. So I called them ahead of time, say, hey, you're going to hear about this. I'm nowhere near it. I'm actually on my way out of the state. Just wanted you to know where I was at, blah, blah, blah. And the tragedy that unfolded here in Philadelphia it's just a crazy thing to know that we were this close to this happening. In addition to all these other flights that have been crashing on the runways, crashing in the air, crashing on this, crashing on that. I don't know what's going on. I don't understand what's happening. And I'm not about to be a conspiracy theory. What I will say is this. The one thing I have always done, no matter how I travel, plane, car, bike, on foot, is to always stay prayed up. Stay prayed up, because that spirit of fear to like, oh, I don't want to go on another flight. I may not get on a flight right away, maybe for a little bit, but I'm going to hopefully get back on a plane. The problem is that we've gotten so much happening with the administrators that we have right now that they're making it hard for us to even keep safety as a forefront. So I don't know. I pray that I'm wrong, but I don't know if we may see more things happen. I say this to say that we need to make sure that we understand, and I said this on my TikTok this week, is that we don't know how precious life is, and we don't know when our next moment is going to be. We don't know when something's going to happen. And we have got to do a good job, a better job of recognizing that, hey, life is happening to every last one of us. And the one thing that we need to be more apt to do is to be careful. Say I love you to somebody when you see them and greet them. Make sure you keep everything right. Like, I don't want to pass out this world and have some art or some issue with somebody that I could have gotten it together. This is why I ain't arguing. I ain't arguing with people. I'm going to say my facts and keep it moving. Now, even if I'm at the point where I'm fooling with you, or I'm pushing back from fooling with you, or I'm fooling with you less, I still won't do it with animosity, because I know I'm doing it to pull back is to help me. But I won't have animosity, because I don't want to have animosity in my heart towards anybody. And I get it. Everybody is not, those that go to church, don't believe in God. They have their own belief system. And to that, I say kudos, because, hey, what I believe and you believe ain't got to be the same. For me, and for those who understand and believe the same that I believe, I need you to understand that you need to stay prayed up. You need to be prayed up every time you leave. When you drop your children off, or whoever you are with, when you depart from them, make sure you keep everything on the up and up, and make sure you always say, I love you, because you never know when your time shall come. And I pray that everybody I have ever had an experience with, a personal experience with, I pray that their experience with me has been positive. And if it's not been positive, and we've come to an impasse where we're just like, we ain't really about that, I want that to be so. But I want it to be so on the path of, I wish her well, or I wish them well, because that's where I'm at with people. There's people I really legitimately do not fool with. Do you understand me? If there was a choice of fooling with them and something else I didn't like, I probably would choose something else I didn't like, just because I really don't want to fool with you. But I have always, at this point, I won't say always, but I'll say in the last 10 or so years, I've gotten to the point where I wish all of them well. Everybody will. People I don't like, people I don't fool with, people I would not let them sit their feet underneath my table, let alone come through the door of my home. I still wish people well, because that's all I can do sometimes. For people, sometimes that's all you can do. Wish them well. Like, Lord, I pray they got peace. I pray they are happy. It's like having an ex. I don't wish none of them exes no bad things. I pray that they are sleeping well. I pray they got good relationships. I pray that they are doing so well that when we see each other, and we have seen each other, I have seen some of my exes, but when I see you, it should be a, hey, how's everything going? How's the family? How's the wife? How's this? Hey, praise be, and keep on moving, because I wish everybody well. I don't have any animosity of anybody. I just don't. I refuse to. Life is life, and why should I continue to do the most when I don't have to? When I could put that same energy into getting this body right, when I could put that same energy on loving my family, kissing on my babies, being with my husband, okay? That's what I choose to do. So, this is this week's episode of Conversations with Toy. I pray that the next week that we come together, that things will be a little less dramatic than they've been right now, that we all are equipped to handle the things that are on our plate. And if we're not able to handle those things, that God will give us something, someone, or a resource that will help us. Maybe you don't have it. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we don't have it. But God, please gift us the skill sets. Send somebody our way that can speak a word, that we can get it together so that we can be our best versions of ourselves. And when we find that we are not at the best versions of ourselves, acknowledge it. And while we acknowledge it, pick ourselves back up and try to do a lot better with what we got. Build community wherever you are. You may need something from someone, and you've got to be able to already have tapped in relationship in order to get. Ain't nobody really gonna just hand you nothing. So you might want to go ahead and have the things together so that it makes more sense. Because you can't build community when you need something. You got to build the community so it becomes a resource for when you need something. If you have things that can be a resource, begin to put them together. Begin to stockpile some things. Get some things together. I promise you, we may need it. However, I am sending nothing but the most immense love. And if you have nobody in your life that's telling you that they love you, maybe you woke up, you're a single person, and you say, listen, I don't really be fooling with nobody. And then I just go to work. I don't fool with them either. So then my friends, they live far away. I really don't fool with them because I can't really get to them as much as I want to. So I feel like I'm just a loner and nobody tells me these things. So I just kind of just have to tell myself, or just kind of have to keep moving. Let me just say I love you. Let me send some love your way. Let me tell you how much you are amazing. Let me tell you how much you are meant to be here. All the gifts and talents that you have are meant to be here. You are meant to be here. I need you to hear that, because sometimes when you get that spirit of depression get on you and you say, I don't know if I should be here, I should go. No, it's uncomfortable right now, but there's another side to that uncomfortableness. And when you get past this, you're going to be like, you know what? I done missed out on all this life that's supposed to be lived. You are meant to be here. You are love. You are joy. You are grace personified. And I wish you nothing but the absolute best in everything that you absolutely do. I pray that you feel encouraged. I hope that you feel your cup feels a little bit more full than it did before you listened to this podcast, because that is the goal. Thank you for listening to Conversations with Toy, and this is this week's episode. See you, Lord's will, next week, and make sure you do at least one thing that is going to put a beautiful smile on your face. All right? Love you lots.
Thank you as always for joining me, and I know that even in the deepest or joyful conversations that there's something we can learn and apply. Until next time, I hope that you are doing better. If not, we will be back to talk some more and handle it. Peace to you and yours. Stay grounded.